Well, I'm here in the home of John Terzakis. He's been a friend of mine, I guess, on and off, totally for about 30 some odd years. I know he'll correct me. And I'm here because we're talking about his sister Linda, who is I guess she's in a coma right now.
She's not in a coma.
Not in a coma.
No,
Okay,
she's not in a coma.
okay.
She's her her brain has disconnected from her body, so to speak, and so she really has no way of communicating. We really don't know whether she can hear us or not, or she's hearing everything.
But she's in a vegetative state.
Somewhat. I mean, her eyes are open most of the time.
Let me ask you this: is she lying in a bed?
Yes.
But she's lying in state, correct?
I mean, she can wiggle her fingers a little bit. I mean, there's not. She turns her head sometimes.
But she can't say anything. So
she can't say anything, but she has a trach in her.
Right,
her
but
throat.
she's trach, right? Sure.
Yeah.
But she's that's her feeding tube.
Yeah. Oh no, that's not the feeding tube. The feeding tube.
Oh,
goes
okay.
in
So
her
she's
stomach.
in a trach just in case she
Yeah.
speaks.
Well, not because the trach is to help her with her oxygen. That's
Well, it helps her breathe,
yeah.
but she's in a state
No.
of no.
She's that's the thing is nobody knows for sure. Some doctors think maybe she could hear everything we're saying. Other ones aren't as sure. That's the whole weird thing. I mean, her for the longest time, her MRIs of her brain showed normal function.
So according to John, he's just to in a nutshell, just according to what John had sent me, it is that Linda had some kind of she was taking some kind of psychiatric medicine, some form of antidepressant and anxiety and psychiatric medicine, and she would take a little extra. It sounds like she took a bit more of the dose than should have been.
Correct.
Are you correct? Yeah, and then something happened where she had a 106-degree temperature, and then she collapsed and she almost died, which is pretty crazy. So now, of course, I'm wrong when I say this, but it just looks like that she OD'd or something, and she probably didn't OD.
No, she didn't OD.
No, she didn't OD, but something happened where her brain just was like couldn't function anymore.
My theory is, and I'm pretty sure I'm probably right about this. It had something to do with antipsychotic medicine that put her in the state that she's in.
Yeah, she probably mixed.
Well, I've read a lot of stuff, a lot of the things that go wrong with people who have taken antipsychotic medicine, and I think in most cases it helps most people, but it does have could have some bad possible side effects.
Yeah.
And my guess is that what's happened to her today is due to the antipsychotic medicine that she took.
Yeah, and probably it was mixing. It's like that's like a powerful cocktail, more or less, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, she was taking other stuff, but I think primarily, I think.
Do you know exactly what she was taking?
I don't. Unfortunately, I don't know. I don't know exactly which medicine she was taking.
And so, even though you say she's not in a vegetative state, we keep talking about this. I'm going to keep coming back to this.
Sure.
She is lying in state. She cannot communicate.
Mm-hmm.
It is comatose. It is comatose.
There are some comatose features to
Let's say that just for generally speaking, if she cannot communicate, she is comatose.
Well, comatose, as far as I'm concerned, is when somebody's completely their eyes are shut.
Okay, I'm gonna say it like this. Maybe I know you don't want to believe this. This is a touchy subject, so say what you feel. But she is in a vegetative state.
Well, that's not how. I'll just say what the doctors say. The doctors don't call it a vegetative state. a lot some of the doctors think that she possibly could be hearing everything we're saying. It's just that the brain and the body have disconnected, so she has no way of communicating with us. Now, I guess she did seem that way more at the beginning. Now she seems it seems more as time has gone on that I'm not so sure that. I mean, she might not. I'm not even sure how much she could really hear us. That's the big mystery. She might be hearing us. She might not be hearing us. But her eyes don't. Her eyes don't follow. Like if you try to get her eyes to follow you,
Right.
or like to shake her shoulders or something. If you ask her a question, they don't seem to really. She doesn't seem to really respond to any of that stuff anymore. Where at the beginning,
Well, that would lead again. I know I keep coming back to this. It would lead to me that she's in some sort of state, like a vegetative. Even look, she's functioning. Okay.
well, I wouldn't say she's functioning.
All
She's
right.
not
So
functional.
okay. So we keep dancing around this. We're dancing around this issue. Let's call it something. I know you don't want to call it this because you don't want to believe.
No, I'm just telling you what the doctors say.
All right, but what do you think?
I think, well, I know what a vegetative state is. She's not completely in that. But I do think that there's definitely this connection between the brain and the body. And as time has gone on, I think the brain has gotten worse. Not to the point as a vegetative state, but it could possibly lead to that at some point if she stays as she is.
Well, I mean, I don't want to. I don't want to say the obvious. I don't want to state the obvious. But have you thought about the most obvious thing? Have you thought about the most? I mean, the most basic thing. Did she? And obviously, she's married. How long has she been married for?
She's been married. Let me see. She got married in '96, so she's in August. It'll be 22 years.
Okay. And what is her husband's name is
His name is Larry.
Larry, and does he go by last name is?
Well, I don't think the exact names are important. I just want.
Okay, so his name is Larry. So it's Larry and Larry and Linda. The L's are fast at work here. So what does Larry think about it?
I think. Well, Larry. I think he kind of knows what's happening. I think he's. I think he wants her around. He wants to see her. I'm kind of I believe that possibly. Right now his insurance doesn't kick in until a couple months. So when he gets insurance again, I believe that the Mayo Clinic can possibly help her. He doesn't really think it can. I think he feels like in a lot of ways she's doing better now, physically. But to me, that's not good enough. I mean, because to me, she's a prisoner in her body, So
So if you believe that, if she's a prisoner in her body, what do you want done?
what I want done, well, my main goal is I do believe there's a doctor out there somewhere that has experienced somebody in her kind of condition. I think they're out there somewhere, and
Is there an
I
official?
don't know now at this point. I mean, I think it's still possible a doctor can help her. I know as time has gone on.
Is there an official diagnosis for
That's
what
part
she?
of the problem is there isn't.
There is not.
They have
There
they
isn't.
have said different things. I'm trying to remember now what they call it, neuroleptic syndrome. That was one of them. Serotonin. I'm trying to think what they call it. Serotonin poisoning, or there's just they think it might be a combination of different stuff.
Well, that would seem obvious if it was like a combination of different
So
medicines.
my goal is for either some doctor, that has experienced this or would like to try to figure out, how to figure out this mystery. That's a big goal. Another goal is I'm hoping still that at some point that we can check, when my brother-in-law's insurance kicks in, that we can check with to see if Mayo Clinic will consider her whether she's a candidate to go to the Mayo Clinic. I mean, they might, I don't know, to either say yes, we can help her, or they might say no, we don't think we can help. But I want them to be the ones to say, we can help her or we can't help her.
Have you thought about it yourself, about just trying to take charge of the situation of trying to take care of your sister?
My brother-in-law is a power of attorney, so it's very hard. When you have a power of attorney.
Yes, I know about this stuff. I know about that stuff. Know about it myself very well. That power of attorney, you can't do virtually anything. Because you have to vote and do all that other stuff you usually do. Well, tell me, tell me what happened. We know about. I mean, I remember your sister very well, although probably not in the last maybe almost 29 years probably since this time. But I mean, you and I, we've only started talking again, since November 2017. This is after I got back from New York. Just in case you are joining us, this is Sid Yiddish. I'm talking to John Terzakis about his sister Linda, who is in a sort of a half,
kind of somewhat comatose.
Yeah, okay, so half comatose, maybe half vegetative, half and a quarter sleeping, I suppose, because her brain is disconnected from her.
It appears to be that way.
Yeah, appears from her. Her
brain
can't
control any.
Can't control any. No bodily function. That's what it sounds like.
Well, it seems I believe that most of her, when she does make movements, I think most of it's involuntary. I don't think.
Right. It's just kind of sporadic. It just kind of shows up. It just.
Well, I mean, sometimes and I think that's another part of her problem too, is whatever happened kind of affected her nervous system. Because sometimes her shoulders are kind of like shaking back and forth for a long time, or she seems to get like almost like muscle spasms going on in her face.
Right.
So it's definitely something neurological.
When you I guess I want to ask you, where were you when you first learned of this, of your sister's?
I was home. I believe my older sister called me. I'm trying to remember now. Yeah, I think my older sister called me and said that. Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember now. Yeah, my older sister called me and said that when our brother-in-law went home to check, because he hadn't heard from his wife in a while, that he found her on the floor, and he wasn't even sure at that point if she was breathing, and he called 911. So I was here in the building. It was on a Sunday. I remember that. I remember the exact date. It was December 13th, December 13th, 2015. And I went to visit her that night. But I'm thinking of another time. I went to visit her the next day in the hospital.
I was here. I'm thinking of 14. So how did you feel when you saw her?
Oh, very scared. Confused. I didn't know what was happening with her. At that point, we didn't know. I mean, we didn't know if it was necessary. Well, I mean, at that point, we didn't know if it was an overdose. We didn't know if she had like meningitis. We didn't know.
I'm thinking meningitis.
She had. Well, at that point, I mean, it was just fresh. At that point, everything was, all the options were on the table. They were trying to rule out stuff. I wasn't that familiar with the effects that psychological medicine, can do, to the brain. So at first you're kind of wondering, did she get the flu? What happened?
Yeah, and she wasn't talking then either.
No, but she did eventually. She never talked again, or I think somebody said they heard when they had like a something by her trach when she was starting a little better, that they might have heard her say one word, but she never actually has talked since then. But she was probably at her best point after what happened, maybe 2 months later, 3 months later. She was like really trying to like mouth words to us.
Mm-hmm.
She's able to do that. We couldn't always understand what she was trying to say. If we joked around, she would roll her eyes. Sometimes she would smile. But as time went on, it seemed like the disconnect became more and more. To the point where it is today.
Well, I mean, so she's been lying. She's been lying there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So she's been lying there.
They do have her sitting up on a chair. Of course, they have her somewhat restrained, of course, so she doesn't go off the chair.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I imagine she's tied up, or whatever it is.
Not tied up, I don't know.
You know what I mean. I'm not saying like...
Yeah, I know.
29 years, I don't think it changes too much between it, does it?
Mm-hmm.
So she sits up and she's lying down most of the time, right?
Correct.
Okay, good. And do they happen to know what word she was trying to say?
A nurse claims, this is probably maybe 2 years ago, that she said, I think something like "good morning" or something. I wasn't actually there. And on that day when they were saying how good she was, I happened to visit her that day. She was at Holy Family Hospital in Des Plaines, a suburb of Chicago.
Right.
And it seemed to me like she was in discomfort. And I told the nurse, that she didn't seem right. And the nurse said, "Oh no, she's doing really good today." So then later on that night, I got a call from my brother-in-law. Said that she caught pneumonia or something, and she went into the hospital. And it seemed like, so that was like maybe the best it got before it started to kind of go downhill again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so this has been going on for...
almost 2.5 years.
Almost 2.5, yeah. It must be 3 in December.
Correct.
Have you discussed... I know it's too early, but have you discussed that other possibility?
Dying?
Of pulling the plug.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
No,
you haven't talked about that.
Well, and again, that's that's her brother-in-law. I'm sorry.
That's your brother-in-law.
My brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Her husband would make that decision. If it comes to the point where, I don't know. I mean, if some other doctor saw her, Mayo Clinic, whatever, and they are determined there's nothing they can do, she might be a candidate for hospice, I would think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because right now, if to me it's kind of like, if she's a prisoner in her body, as I said before, so
Right.
either something we should go all out for it and try to find something that might be able to help her. If not, I'm not saying that pull the plug or anything, but it's almost unfair for her to just be in the condition she's in. So I don't know if
yeah, that's
if she did blue code or something, I don't know how far they should go, in trying to bring her back.
So anybody that goes to visit her, does she respond to them at all?
I don't believe she does. I mean, her husband thinks that her eyes are following him.
Well, that seems logical because
Yes, of course.
It's more about him than it's about anybody else.
Oh no, I mean, I'm not saying it's not about him.
No, well,
it's
you know what I
about-
mean. You know
it's
what I'm
about
saying.
him. It's about him and her.
Well-
I mean, it's kind of like, maybe I'm wrong, but of course, when it's your spouse, you might want to see what you want to see.
Right.
And I hope I'm proven wrong. I mean,
Right. Well, of course, it's kind of like the bear logic is that that you go along with the wife, even though you know she's kind of wrong. You kind of have to go along with the wife. If, just an example, if you know what I mean. If there's like a, it's called the art of compromise. That's what I'm driving at. So, so this has kind of been going on. It just, I don't know. It just seems to me like when I read this, it just reads to me like it's like a big keeps dragging its feet.
Yes.
And that's a problem to me. That's a big problem to me. Obviously, it is to you.
Yeah, and that's why, I'm not okay with status quo. I mean, I want either do something really aggressive, get Mayo Clinic involved, or, put her in hospice. It's not fair to her. I think we owe it to her to do everything we possibly can if something can be done. If it comes to the point where, the best doctors see her, Mayo Clinic sees her, and there's nothing they can do, then that's a whole different story. I guess I've never really thought about. Obviously, I'm not saying they should pull the plug or something. I don't really know exactly. Maybe they shouldn't. At that point, maybe they shouldn't be doing everything. To if she's, if she's going downhill, maybe they shouldn't go through extreme to keep her alive if it comes to that point. Because it's not fair to her. If she doesn't know what's going on, that's not good. But if she does know what's going on, that's not good either, to be kind of stuck into your own body for 2 years, and there's not a thing you can do to communicate anything.
How does your sister Laura feel about it? Does she have any thoughts about that?
Well, she's I think she's kind of in agreement a lot with me. She's mentioned a lot too about trying to get her off the trach, like having to go someplace.
Right.
But I really feel like, to me, it's more, it has to do with neurological and the brain. I mean, so if she's off the trach, but the brain's still not connecting with the body, that, to me, the breathing's important, of course, but that's not the number one factor that has her where she is today.
Right. And how do you feel now that your sister's in this state of being? That's what we're just going to call it. She's
Sure.
She's in this state of being. How do you feel about medications in general? Just in general.
I still feel. I think people, of course, you hear there's a lot of medicine mistakes.
Right.
But I still, as far as, I'm going to more talk about medicine for the mind.
Right.
Depression, anxiety.
Right.
I still think there's many people that it benefits very most. I mean, they have to be careful. I mean,
Of course.
But even the antipsychotic medicine, there would probably be some people that will say, "Oh, that stuff is terrible. Look what it did to this person, that person." But I think there's many people who aren't living a normal life, and if they're on the right medicine, they can live a normal life. So I would never say, they shouldn't be taking any medicine like that. With that, I think definitely a person shouldn't just go with medicine. Therapy has to go with it too. I mean, and the person has to. It's a combination of medicine, therapy, and the person working their hardest too. To live a normal life.
Without you knowing this, how, or maybe you did know this. So this is one of those kinds of what ifs, even though I don't believe in absolutes myself. What if? How do you know how your sister felt about taking these medications before before all this happened? I mean, she wouldn't have known.
Actually, I think she was unfortunately, she was very dependent on it. She was hoping that she would find the right medicine, that would make her feel better.
Do you know where does this run in the family? This she sounds like she had depression and anxiety of
There's
some.
been some history in the family of depression. And
Do we know who had it?
Well, I'm not going to name names.
Not gonna
Just
name
saying
names. So somebody.
there's been some people in the family that's had you know it's had some
Yeah.
history. I mean, nothing like what's happened to my younger sister. But,
Right, and religion has no part of this, correct?
I'm not sure I understand
No,
the question.
what I'm saying is that, what I mean is that sometimes people don't want to, just example, don't want to pull the plug because it's against God.
No, to me,
that kind of thing.
It has nothing to do with it at all.
Right, good. That's what I thought. So, we know that she can't talk. She can't write. She can't. No communications at all. So,
Basically, she can't do anything.
right, she can't do anything at all.
Yeah.
But in the times that you've gone to see her, and you see her every week, that's correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Right. And you've seen her every week, and she is still not making no form of communication when you see her at all?
I don't believe that she's communicating. There sometimes, even once in a while, my older sister, but not usually, but her husband more thinks sometimes that she reacts like if he calls her name or something. But I don't believe that. I don't believe that she's reacting. Really reacting at all. I mean, she doesn't react to. There's certain things like if they're cleaning out her throat, she has a gag reflex.
No.
Sometimes if you start talking to her, her eyes are closed, they're open. But I don't believe in any other way. I can't see any expression on her face. She doesn't appear to raise her eyebrows, shake her head, shake her shoulders or anything. So I don't believe that she's responding, but there'll be some other people that will disagree with me. Because sometimes she's kind of just raising her eyebrows or kind of shaking her shoulders on her own involuntarily. So
Right.
I don't believe that there's.
I think that's just a reaction.
Involuntary,
Yeah, it's a reaction. Just it's like a reaction to the whatever it is. I don't think it's like she's like,
Exactly.
Yeah. And do you have you brought other people to see her?
I have.
Just like friends or just
Well, I haven't
relatives?
brought as
or?
many, but I brought. Let's see, I brought my cousin. I brought one of my neighbors, a really nice lady that lives down the street. That used to be a judge. And then my brother-in-law, her husband, a number of his friends have come to visit her too.
Okay, and do they have they seen anything? See her do anything or?
I'm not sure, and I think it's. I generally don't go too much by what somebody that's only seen her once what they think because they got kind of nothing really to go on. They don't know her,
Right.
but I haven't really heard too much. I think a friend of mine and my older sister came to saw her, and he said that he told my sister that he thought that when she left, I think something like she gave a little smile, but I have to be completely honest, I don't really believe, that she did do that. Sometimes, I hate to say it, but sometimes a little grimace of pain could look like a smile too. So
Yeah, and maybe they're saying that just to cheer
it's
you
possible
to cheer
too.
you up.
That was
too.
the other thing I was thinking.
Yeah, they're just trying to give you hope.
Exactly.
What so her husband Larry, he's the power of attorney.
Correct.
And is he telling you things you think that you want to hear, or is he telling you no, hear me out. Do you think he's telling you things that you want to hear, or that he thinks that he can actually interpret something that's actually happening when it's really not happening?
Well, I don't think he's saying anything just to tell us stuff. I think, it's hard for me to answer that question. I think I kind of alluded to it before. Everybody, most people see things in a different way. A lot of people might want to see something, they want to have hope and see something.
Of course.
So I don't necessarily, I have kind of a different opinion to a certain degree with my brother, even maybe a little bit with my other sister of how she's doing, how well she's doing. I kind of see myself as, whether it's a good thing to have or not, I kind of see myself as being, I kind of see things as they are, you know, like I can see, I generally don't let an emotional feeling get in the way of what I'm really seeing. Usually I can see things as they are, you know, whether it's good or bad, you know. So that's why, you know, but I'm only going by my opinion. It doesn't mean that I'm right, but that's
Well,
what I
I
think.
am talking to you. I'm not talking to anybody else, so I am asking for your opinion.
Well, you did ask about what my
Right,
brother
I know I
was saying.
did, but he's not in the same room here, so
Yeah,
I
I was
just
just
saying. I'm just
answering
saying.
answering your question.
I know. Of course you are. Of course you
Mm-hmm.
are. So so you went and decided to make this appeal out over Facebook. I mean, you know, and what have you heard back from?
Well, I've heard people saying, you know, a lot of people did mention the Mayo Clinic. Actually, that was like a big thing. A lot of people said, you know, and I've been pushing hard, you know, with my brother-in-law for a long time for the Mayo Clinic. There was another friend that mentioned something about a chiropractor place, but I don't think he didn't quite understand her situation. You
Yeah,
know, where she's has tubes in her, and it's, to me, it's more, in my belief, it's more stemming from the brain. What's going on?
right,
It's not the muscles themselves that can't move. You know, that need to be woken up.
right,
So that's most of the stuff I got from. You know, I was hoping that I would hear from, you know, doctors. You know, doctors that want to help. Maybe doctors that want to make a big name for themselves. You know, in a good way.
right. I
And
know.
unfortunately, you know, that didn't. I really appreciated a lot of the support and the ideas from friends, but unfortunately, I didn't end up tapping into a doctor that, you know, that, you know, tried to get hold of us and maybe he had a good idea.
Okay. Um, and so I'm just curious to know, have you? I know that you put it on your page, your Facebook page. But have you? Do you belong to any groups that are for, you know, that can address this kind of situation, or supporters, or people who, you know, not supporters, but I mean like those who have dealt with the same
You know,
difficulty?
I mean,
Have you thought about
that
that?
might be an interesting thing to do. I mean, I know they have grief groups for people after somebody has passed away, but and you know, of course, I'm sure they have groups even for people who are dealing people with cancer. But this is such a unique situation. I don't know exactly what I would look into to try to find, you know, something like this. Maybe I would have to. Maybe the only thing is, even though she doesn't have cancer, is maybe, you know, go into a group more that meets that has, you know, a sick person in their family. So that's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah, I'm just surprised you haven't gone that route yet. And
But I'm
I'm
more thinking. I mean, you know, I'm doing what I need to do to survive.
right.
And
And
I'm more looking at
how are
it.
you surviving?
I would say, you know, I'm. I wish things were different than they were, but I mean, but
Yeah.
myself, I mean, I'm doing okay. I mean, I should say that I also had an older sister who died from a car related accident when she was 18 years old. So it's hard to say if and when my younger sister passes away, you know, having lost two of three sisters, you know, how that will affect me. You know, I mean, you know, that'll be kind of hard.
Yeah, that is. And you told me before we started that you've been emotional about it. I mean, let's talk more about that. I mean, obviously, this is a pretty big deal. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, what do you fear the most?
Um, you know, I'm not sure. I mean, part of me fears what's happening right now, that she's a prisoner in her body, and the other part of me fears, you know, when and if she passes away.
Well,
Um,
I mean, obviously we all pass
of
away.
course, but I'm talking about more in the immediate future.
Right.
Um, so,
Have you expressed your no? Just let me ask the story, and then I'll let you get back to this. So have you expressed that opinion to Larry that she is a prisoner?
Absolutely, many times I have.
And he says what?
Well, he says he agrees, but it's hard for me to say how it's hard for me to know how much he does agree. I know he's very preoccupied on making sure that her breathing is good, her blood pressure is good, her hemoglobins, her red blood cell counts, that she's getting over infections, which is, of course, that's all important stuff because, I don't want anybody to be having physical pain.
Right.
But I think I'm more focused on the end of not what can we do to make her symptoms better right now, but what can we do to maybe salve it, to not so much putting a bandage on what's happening now, but actually finding out how you could actually treat it, so that maybe it can be solved.
So the doctors you said they've said various things. So what is the official or unofficial diagnose?
They don't have a name for it, but pretty much what they say is that the most often thing they said is that the brain has disconnected with the body, and they do feel it will be terminal if it stays the way it is. Back in, I think it was in December, they gave a time frame of, I'm going to say something like 4 to 6 months. So that would have brought it from anywhere from April to June. That was their best guess.
Yeah.
So I mean, but as far as the name, if they knew what the name was, that would make it a lot easier because then they know exactly what they have to do, to try to make her better.
And you've not, not you, but and your brother-in-law Larry has not gone to any other doctors. Hasn't. Hear me out. Mm-hmm. Hasn't gone anywhere else. It just is taking the diagnosed by one, or maybe I'm assuming it's at least one or two more doctors or whatever the case may be.
Not really. I mean, she does have. Besides her primary doctor, she has a neurologist. She has a pulmonologist. She has a. I'm trying to think what the other one is. Some other. I know there's like at least 4 doctors. Okay. So there are, but no. As far as I know, there hasn't been any, like another doctor in there with a second opinion. So that's something. Once his new insurance kicks in, I would definitely like, and I plan on doing research myself to find another doctor that could do a second opinion. That's something definitely that I would like to see happen.
Yeah. Not always my place to say, so I'd rather you say it. So it sounds like just at this point that it's a stalemate. Is what it is. That's primarily what it is. It's not going anywhere.
That's what it feels like. It's kind of
feels like you're trying to get.
It feels like the movie Groundhog Day, where it's just kind of stuck where it is.
Yeah, right. It kind of feels like there's a wall there. Okay, exactly. And you're trying to get it in the wall, and you can't get through the wall because the walls just like they keep closing in.
Yes.
Every time it's kind of like every time you know this because we live in a 4-season weather state. So when it snows and you're it's very windy out and you're shoveling the snow, and the snow keeps getting thrown back onto the.
Good analogy.
Right. Well, we live in Illinois. It's snow. It's unfortunate part of reality here, but So we talked a little bit about your fears. And obviously you're keeping, some. I'm trying to find the right word here. You're keeping a vigil. That you hope that she's going to get better. I mean, we all want her to get better.
Oh yeah, I hope she gets better, but unfortunately, because I'm so realistic, I kind of, unless there's some doctor that can figure out what's going on. being the way things are right now, I don't realistically, I don't see things getting better unless there's, some doctor, that somehow knows about this can get involved and help her.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you would like to say? Anything to offer? Some kind of any kind of anything else you'd like to say?
Not really. I'm really hoping that that somebody out there can help. If you're not a doctor and you see this, if you can tell your doctor and tell your doctor to tell the doctors they know. I mean, spread the word. I mean, I'm sure, even though it kind of feels like nobody else has my sister's condition, I'm sure there are probably some people out there.
Yeah.
So, um, so if they can help her, then maybe they can help other people too.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Just so my sister's not, she doesn't continue to be a prisoner in her body. So that's what the goal of going on YouTube is, hoping that somebody
And elsewhere
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the goal really is to show others that this is happening, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
some little story that you see on television
Yeah.
or through Netflix or something like
Yeah,
that.
and hopefully somebody can help somehow.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.